To be able to vote, there are lots of deadlines, forms, and steps you must complete, which can be a little overwhelming. Today, I'm going to take you through a walkthrough on the process of voting to try to make it a little easier. The first step in this journey is registering to vote. You can register online, by mail, in person at the county registration office, or at different government agencies like PennDOT. No matter which option you choose, you will be required to fill out a voter registration form. This form will ask you questions about your personal information. The PA Department of State has a video that goes through the registration form step by step that may answer any specific questions you have while filling out the form. The link to that video will be included at the end. After you have completed the form, your voter registration information will be processed and you can track the status of your application on the Department of State website. Eventually, your voter registration application will be approved, and then you should be sent a voter registration card in the mail. The next step in your journey is determining how you are going to vote, and each way, mail-in, in-person, and absentee, requires that you do some planning beforehand. If you would like to vote in person, you want to make sure you know where your polling place is, which can be found using a PA Department of State tool. You then might want to consider watching a video on how your county's voting machine works, which can also be found on the Department of State website. If you would like to vote by mail-in ballot, there are two options for you. You can request a mail-in ballot on your voter registration form, or there is a separate mail-in ballot request form that can be done online, in person, or through the mail. If you would like to vote through an absentee ballot, know that many of the procedures are the same as mail-in ballots. The only difference with absentee ballots is that the request form requires you to list a reason for your absence. Now that you've registered to vote and picked your method of voting, you'll want to do some research on the candidates you'll be voting for. The League of Women Voters recommends using vote411.org to find nonpartisan information on candidates. Now we've reached the step when you will actually vote. PA has many different options for voting that make it accessible for many people. If you choose mail-in or absentee voting, your first step will be to fill out the voting form. It's important to pay attention to the instructions on the form and also on the Department of State website to ensure your ballot is properly counted. Once everything is filled out, the next step is to send in the envelope with your vote. It's important to place your ballot in the mail as early as possible. Another option is to deliver your ballot to your county's election office or a site your county has designated, like a drop box. To know where you can return your ballot, check your county's website. If you have a disability and are unable to deliver your ballot, you do have the option of filling out another form that can designate someone to be your agent to deliver the ballot. Finally, PA does not have traditional early voting, but once ballots become available, which is usually a few days before the election, you do have the option to go to your county's election office and vote early there. This process will involve applying for a mail-in ballot and filling out the mail-in ballot, all during the same trip to the elections office. The last option to vote in PA is by voting in person. PA's polls open at 7 a.m. on election day and close at 8 p.m. Only first-time voters or voters new to the precinct are required to show an ID to vote, which can be a driver's license or even a utility bill. Your voting should go smoothly, but occasionally there may be hiccups. For example, if the polls close at 8 p.m. and you are still in line, stay in line and vote. Additionally, if you make a mistake on your ballot, you can request a new one. Finally, if the machines are down at your polling place, you can ask for a paper ballot. If you have a disability, you are allowed to bring a person to the polls that can assist you while you vote. If this is your first time bringing a person to help you vote, you will be required to fill out a form stating your need for assistance. PA polling places are also supposed to have at least one accessible voting system. But if your polling place does not, you may be able to vote by alternative ballot. Finally, if you are intimidated or harassed, if you have any questions, or if there are problems at your polling place, don't hesitate to notify your county's Board of Elections or to call a voting hotline like 1-866-RVOTE. And that is the process of voting. This journey does involve more than a few steps and forms, so if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to use resources on the League of Women Voters and the PA Department of State's websites. Thank you, and remember to vote in the upcoming election.